Hello, everybody. Lethalfrag here, back for another episode of Cooking with Frag. This year, we have taken Patreon requests for cooking recipes. So today, we're going to be cooking pad thai, something that I did not know how to cook before we did this. We ran several test batches. I think we got it to a pretty good point. I really like doing the Patreon suggestions. It makes me expand my horizons. I'm pretty set in the things that I really like to cook, so it's kind of hard to branch out. This was a great learning experience. We'll be cooking with a wok today. It's not required that you have a wok for this application. And let me just say that learning to cook well with a wok takes a lot of time. I'm by no means an expert, but I know my way around it, so I'll talk about a few tips and tricks for that. All right, so the very first thing we're going to do is hop over to the cutting board here. We have our rice noodles in a bowl. To cook the rice noodles, we need to put boiling water over them and let them sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. So we have our water pre-boiled here because that'd be really boring to watch. And now that we have these steeping, we're just going to put them to the side. I'm going to give them a quick toss with my tongs here, and we'll get right into chopping our ingredients. It's a very simple recipe to prepare. The difficulty becomes using the wok and the different cooking things. Generally speaking, when you're cooking with a wok, you want a super high heat, and you're cooking things in little batches to make the most out of that heat. So we have garlic, shallot, tofu, cilantro, green onion. This is all our veggies that are going to go into the pad thai, and then we have some peanuts as well. So we're just going to line up our little bowls here and get to chopping. The green onion here will just be a garnish. You could load up the noodles and stuff with green onion too. I think it tastes pretty good. But for our purposes here, this is more garnish. This does end up looking kind of bland. Pad thai is not the prettiest looking dish, so a little bit of garnish will go a long way. All right, let's rough chop the cilantro. We're going to fold in the cilantro towards the end when we add the noodles. If you overcook cilantro or throw it on really high heat, it ends up kind of tasting like soap, and nobody likes that. Some people think cilantro tastes like soap all the time. It's just the way different people taste different things. Okay. Now for the garlic, we'd normally chop this, but since we're cooking in a wok, we can go these nice big slices. This may seem like a lot of garlic, but once it's cooked down, it will have a pretty mild flavor, and you won't even notice that you're putting a big hunk of garlic in your mouth. And now for the shallot. This shallot's weird. Let's see what's going on in here. Shallots can be in really good condition on the inside or pretty bad. You can see we got kind of a bruised spot here. So generally what you do when you're cutting a shallot is cut off both ends, and then you usually remove the outer layer. And you can see the inside looks perfectly fine. So even if the outside of a shallot looks nasty, it's generally good on the inside. Unlike an onion where if there's a bruise, it usually goes all the way through. Knew I was forgetting something. Always forget one thing. Forgot a towel today. I try to be as effectively set up with my mise en place as I possibly can, but you always forget something. One thing you never want to leave on your knife is raw garlic. Definitely want to rinse it off. I'm going to rinse it off after we cut the shallot. Garlic is incredibly acidic, and it will eat the outside of your knife. All right, for these, we're just going to go moons just like we did the garlic. The nice thing about cooking in a wok, the consistency of your cuts is less important than other cooking methods, at least in my opinion. We're going to add the garlic and shallots at the same time, so we're going to combine the bowls here. And we're just going to rough chop a couple peanuts and then clean our knife. This is more for a garnish as well. You can saute the peanuts with everything else, but soggy peanuts are kind of gross. Let's give them a nice little rough chop. Want them to be about quartered, I'd say. Wow, that was a really strong shallot. It's making me cry. All right, now that we got that done, we're going to give our cutting board a quick wipe. We're going to clean our knife, and then we're going to head into preparing the shrimp. It's a really great use of shrimp in this recipe, which uses the shells as well. I like recipes that use the shell of the shrimp. There's an incredible amount of flavor inside the shells. Of course, you're not eating the shells. We're going to use them to infuse the sauce. Just going to rinse off our knife here so it doesn't have that nasty garlic on it. Even a really nice knife can be ruined just by a couple little mistakes, like leaving garlic on there. If I just threw this on, the side of the counter and it sat there for 2 or 3 days, probably get some rust marks or some, degrading of the blade. You spend enough money on a knife, you spend $80, $100 on a chef's knife. Always hand wash it, always dry it right away. We'll keep it happy and healthy for a long time. All right, let's give our noodles a quick stir here. You can see on the camera that the noodles are really loose now, though they're not cooked. Just want to give them a couple stirs to make sure they don't cook together and make sure the water is permeating the noodle properly. All right, I'm going to put on gloves here, and let me tell you why I like to wear gloves when I work with shrimp. I don't think shrimp are terribly nasty. They are kind of the cockroaches of the sea. I'm not worried about the germs on them. What I am worried about is getting a shrimp shell jammed underneath my fingernail. I've only done this once, and I've worn gloves every single other time I work with shrimp for that very reason. It does not feel good. Now, everything that's on the table here, with the exception of the green onion, is going to get cooked. So I don't have to worry about shrimp juice getting in the stuff. Though I will change my gloves real quick and move the green onion to the side. Going to put this over here. All right, I've demonstrated cleaning and deveining shrimp a couple times on Cooking with Frag, but we'll just go over it here again. So what you need to peel and devein shrimp is a bowl of clean water, and you want a side bowl for your shells. Let me flip this around so I can actually see. All right, so shrimp are very easy to clean. All you got to do is take your shrimp, take your finger, make a hook, pull out the little legs. Now there will be a bracket right here where the tail connects. You take your thumbs and you pull that apart. And then after you've done that, the rest of the shell will just come right off. Just like that. I'm also going to remove the tails for this application. So we want to do one thing at a time. So rather than peel and then devein and then clean each shrimp, we're going to peel them all, then we're going to devein them all, then we're going to clean them all. Saves a lot of time, especially the larger your task is, the more time this is going to save. Well, I goofed that one. Lost the tail meat. So one thing I like to talk about in Cooking with Frag is don't be afraid to get in the kitchen and try new things. This recipe was completely alien to me when I tried it, and the first time I made it, I'm not going to lie, it wasn't too good. The second time I made it was much better, and the third time, this time I'm making it, I think it's going to be the best one yet. The worst thing that happens when you cook is that you mess up and you have to, try again. We're going to toss these peanuts in towards the end, so we don't need to worry about the shrimp juice here either, though I rightfully should have moved those. Home cooking, I don't worry about cross-contamination too much, but I will say this, you should always be careful of cross-contamination, especially if you're cooking for children or the elderly. And when I worked in kitchens, I was a real stickler for sanitation. A lot of nasty bugs out there. All right, this one had its tail broken. There we go. All right, we're about 5 to 7 minutes out from our noodles being done. If you can't tell, I've cleaned a few shrimp in my lifetime. A few thousand at least. All right, this shrimp had just molted, so the shell's really weak. When you find a shrimp with a really weak shell, it doesn't mean it's a sick shrimp. Shrimp do molt their shell quite often, about once a month. So just got to make sure you get all the little slimy pieces off, but it's still a good shell and a good shrimp. The only thing you really gotta worry about with shrimp, you'll smell it right away if it's gone bad. There's no question there. Rotten shrimp has a very specific and gnarly smell. All right, before we do this, I'm gonna go ahead and blot up this water real quick. We're gonna stir our noodles one more time, and we're gonna get our wok on the heat. Just gonna wash my hands real quick for redundancy. Gotta wash those hands. All right, let's give our noodles a quick stir. Let's try one too, because who knows, these cook it differently. I put a lid on last time, so maybe this will take a little bit longer. You know what? Those are done. Glad we checked. So we're just going to pour these into the strainer. We're going to add these in at the very end. Ideal scenario cooking in a wok is you get a little bit of a sear on everything you put in the wok, the noodles included. So the more times those have to drain out the water, the better off we're going to be. All right, so the key with the wok is to get it really freaking hot before you add the oil. You actually want the wok to be basically right at the smoking point of the oil before you add anything into it. The idea is hot and quick cooking for each ingredient. Unlike other cooking methods where you can throw everything in the pan at once, that is not the case here. We're going to cook the shrimp shells. We're going to add water to that, which I need a measuring cup for. We're going to add water to that, about 2/3 cup. Then we're going to add that to our sauce mixture. Then we're going to cook the shrimp separately. Then we're going to cook our veggies. Then we're going to add the noodles and add the shrimp back in. Just going to touch the inside of the pan like a dummy. Don't do that unless you burned off all your fingertips like I have. I have very little feeling, but I can tell what's hot and what's not. One of the best advantages of working in a kitchen is if you touch something, you immediately know if it's actually going to burn you or not, or if it's just hot. That, and I've lost most sensation in my fingertips anyways. No big deal. All right, well, while this is heating up, we're going to turn it down just a little bit. We're going to go in here and start cleaning our shrimp. So to clean a shrimp, you take the shrimp. Their intestines run down the back of their body. So what we're going to do is just make a little slit here with the knife. See if we can find one I can actually show you what it looks like. A lot of times the intestines will be really clean, but other times they have a lot of sand and grit and other stuff in them. You can kind of see here. See that black line? We want to get that out of there. That is their little intestine. After we pull that out, you just dip them in the water real quick to remove any extra residue. It will not hurt you to eat that. You just may get some grit in your mouth, which is not ideal. So it'd be much easier to do with a smaller knife and much safer. But alas, this is the only knife I have pulled out. You keep the bowl of water on there because for whatever reason they're real sticky. So having that water to submerge in allows you to get rid of that little piece quickly. Yeah, this one's pretty nasty right here. A lot of times, depending on what the shrimp has ate, it can actually look like boogers or really weird orange stuff. This is just algae. You can see on this shrimp was full when it died. You can actually see the entire black line there. So this one definitely needs to get cleaned. Like if you get served this without it being clean, it's not going to be a pleasant eating experience. Shrimp are so weird. I love shrimp, though. I always kept shrimp when I had fish tanks. Such weird little critters. All right, we're going to cut the rest of these and then clean the rest of them like a smart person. Doing one task at a time always saves time. One more thing to note when you're cleaning shrimp is a lot of times the bulk of what's in the intestine is right down by the tail. So you got to watch for black marks down here. Because a lot of times you pull the shrimp open and say, oh man, this is super clean. But then once you get down here, there's a huge, you know, amount of grit and stuff that you just don't want to eat. Yep, this one's full too. Oh yeah. Whoa. Slippery booger. All right. There's actually some sauces that use the leftovers of this stuff that's ending up in the water. Not for me, though. Oh, yeah. All right, now we're going to wash our hands and start cooking. Really important to wash your hands in between tasks. As we just talked about cross-contamination, that's going to be the easiest way you get cross-contamination is by not properly washing your hands. Because what'll happen is you're not going to go, you know, clean shrimp and then hand toss a salad or something, but you may end up touching the door to your fridge, the door to your oven, touch your knife handle, things like that, and that's when the cross-contamination happens. I can just smell that the wok's pretty hot right now. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to cook our shrimp shells. I have oil pre-designated here. For each task in the wok, we're going to add a little bit more oil. You already see it's super hot. We're going to wait for it to almost start smoking before we add the shells. There it goes. So what we're looking for on the shrimp shells here is a nice orange. Don't need to be hyper cooked or anything, but you want to make sure you killed all the shrimp juice. The more moisture cooks out, the higher chance for smoke, and also the less it will spit back at you. So we can see it's getting a little bit dry now. Good. Let those chill there for a second, then we're going to add our water to make a very concentrated shrimp stock. Okay, what we want here is for this to come to a boil. We're going to press on the shrimp shells to get all the little juice and extras out of it. You'll see the water is starting to turn orange already, and that's kind of what you want. All right, let's take it to a boil, sit for about 10 seconds. And then once that is done, here we go. So in this bowl, we have the base for the sauce. Inside this bowl right here, we have 1 tablespoon sambal, 3 tablespoons sugar, 3 tablespoons fish sauce, and 2 tablespoons tamarind paste. We have cheesecloth in here because we don't want any shrimp shells going into the sauce. If you just have a strainer, that's fine, but the cheesecloth is a nice redundancy for that. All right, this wok's going to be blazing hot. All right, now we're going to let most of the moisture cook off the wok so we have a dry pan again. Right in the trash. Okay, we're just going to give this a little stir. There is sugar in there, so we just want to stir it real quick to make sure the sugar ends up, getting into the rest of the sauce. By adding the hot liquid in there, it will melt the sugar, but if you don't stir, it may not reach the bottom portions of the bowl. All right, there's our shrimp fortified sauce. All we did was stir that up. That's once again 1 tablespoon sambal, 3 tablespoons fish sauce, 3 tablespoons sugar, and 2 tablespoons tamarind paste. All right, our pan's looking dry again, except for my flame went out. All right, so we're waiting for it to get close to the smoking point before adding oil again. Then we're going to cook off our shrimp. Then we're going to cook off the tofu and start adding everything else back in. The reason we cook the shrimp separately in the wok is when we get a really sweet cook on it by doing only the shrimp, but it makes sure the shrimp are cooked evenly and properly. If we added noodles and shrimp in at the same time, there's no way we could properly cook the shrimp. It just would not be possible. And also by cooking the shells down there, we're going to have some nice crust on the wok of some really good flavor that will deglaze with the other stuff going in there. The stuff that goes into the pan often directly affects the flavor of what comes out. Not just the individual ingredients, but what have you cooked in the pan beforehand? This is really apparent when you make like gravies and you deglaze a pan. You get all the extra flavor from those crunchy bits. All right. Gonna wait just another second here. I don't think it's hot enough yet. All right, we're gonna add the oil. You can see how the oil is very liquidy in the pan. That's good. It's very loose, which means it's working properly. Take our puddle of shrimp here. So that sizzle I heard when I dropped them in the pan was not quite aggressive enough, so I definitely could have let the pan sit for another 20 or 30 seconds to heat up. This will not ruin the dish or anything, but could have gotten slightly better temperature on the shrimp. So here's the deal with shrimp. They're really, really hard to cook properly. They cook very quickly, and they go from being really tender and delicious to being rubber bands in about 30 seconds. So we're going to keep these moving around. We're going to make sure that the outsides are all cooked. Then we're going to rinse our spatula, come back, and they'll probably be done. Getting good at cooking shrimp just takes a lot of practice. Okay. Really just one nice turn is probably all it's going to take. Okay, that one needs flipped. We're about 5 seconds away here. Yep, done. These tongs are slightly off center. I just tried to grasp it and it just went through. Okay, now we have the shrimp juice in the bottom of the wok kind of cooking down. This is good, but we want to add something else before it starts smoking. All that stuff cooking in the pan right now is just going to serve to add flavor to the rest of the dish. So we're going to add just a little bit more oil, not too much. We're going to wait for the pan to smoke, and then we're going to add our tofu. You're definitely playing a dangerous game with a wok at home because you need it to get really hot, but you obviously don't want to start an oil fire. So you're better off erring on the side of caution if you're new to using a wok or trying this technique. That definitely could have been hotter. But I'm already smoking out the kitchen here, so got to be careful. My fire alarm is unfortunately sensitive. All right, so we're just going to try to get a nice little brown on these, on each side. Hey, that's a beard hair. Gross. I never could have had this beard when I worked in kitchens, for that very reason right there. No matter how astute and on top of your game you are, you're always going to lose a hair somewhere. All right, give these about another 30 seconds here. I'm just going to check my noodles real quick. While it didn't kill the noodles, what I should have done when I poured them into the strainer was shock them with cold water to stop the cooking. They're still fine, but they're maybe a little bit over because I missed that one detail. Pretty much any time you use, you boil something or steam something and you want to keep it, sitting somewhere, you want to shock it first. Oop. Okay. After we get browning on the other side, I'm going to break this apart, make a well in the center, and start adding our vegetable ingredients. Pretty damn hard to overcook tofu. It's really difficult to burn tofu. It has a lot of moisture in it. We do press our tofu for about 30 minutes in a towel with some weight on it, but even then, it's just basically a sponge. And we know this will continue to cook while we're adding other ingredients, so we're just going to grab the proper utensil, which is this spatula, start breaking it up. Take that, tofu. I love tofu. I used to hate tofu, and then I realized how good it was. Tofu is really bland, but it does take on any flavor that you put with it. It's kind of a nice little blank canvas. Okay, so we're going to push this to the side. We're going to add more oil to the middle. And we're going to add our garlic and shallot. Let's get this spread out through the oil so that everything's getting cooked evenly. We're going to let this go for just a minute before I stir. Then we'll stir all this together and we'll add in our noodles. We're getting there. I'm going to go ahead and add just a little pinch of peanuts here too. I was going to add these afterwards, but since we used the same cutting board for the shrimp, I want to make sure these come up to temp. We're adding these very late in the cook process, so they're not going to get soggy or overcooked. Now, I'm going to do something the recipe didn't call for, which I am now reminding myself that I think I should have done. We're going to take just a little bit of the sauce mixture and add it to the veggies. We're going to add most of it when it goes into the noodles. But by doing this, we can get a nice little deglaze of the pan, and we can also get that sauce flavor into the vegetables a little bit better. Oh, it smells delightful. Scrape all these crunchy bits off the bottom. That's all really good flavor. All right, this wok is wicked hot right now. So now we're going to take our noodles, and we're just going to add a couple little handfuls here. I don't think I'm actually going to use all of these. Yep, by not shocking them, they got a little bit gummy. My mistake. This is okay. We're about to add liquid, so it'll come together. All right, we're not going to use all our sauce here. We're just going to use about half to start. We're not using all the liquid because we actually want most of this to cook off and get a little bit of a sear on the noodle. God bless it, that smells amazing. See, I'm trying to spread it out over the wok as much as I can. Now, if you look at a wok in an industrial kitchen, there's just this giant heating element under it that gets way hotter than you could ever hope to receive in a home kitchen. But now we had to be patient for the first time. You'll see that the liquid's pooling in the middle. That doesn't actually mean there's too much liquid in there. When you're in this high of a heat, all the liquid pushes up to the top. So that's not an indicator that we're flooding the noodles. It's just an indicator our pan's really hot. To get a better idea of that, you can mix everything together real quick. Still a little bit wet. But I think we're just about there. Glad I withheld some sauce because we use less noodles. Now we're going to add in our shrimp. And a little bit of cilantro here. We're just going to give this a quick toss. Kill the heat. And there we have it. We have made pad thai. Now we just have to plate it. Make sure we get a nice handful of shrimpies there. See, we got a really nice golden brown on the tofu. That's great to see. So you're going to get the most flavor out of it. As I said, this is not the prettiest food in the world, but it sure is tasty and filling. Green onions. All right, let me clean off my cutting board real quick here before we display this. Don't want to put the cooked food into shrimp juice, that's for sure. And there you have it. Cooking with Frag Pad Thai. All right, I'll take a few minutes here and answer any questions if anybody has one. Yes, you can use egg instead of tofu, or you can use both for that matter. They go very well together. Unless you have multiple woks working, doing the egg is a little bit intense with how many times you have to pull stuff in and put stuff into the wok. I never thought about using a towel under the cutting board. Really important to do that. By having a damp towel underneath your cutting board, it stops it from sliding around. One of the main ways you can injure yourself is having your cutting board slide when you're about to chop into something. Always put a damp towel underneath your cutting board. It is way safer. What other veggies can you add to this? Okay, this is just rice noodles prepared with the sauce. You can literally take this any direction that you want to. You could use tahini and soy. You could really whatever you want. The rice noodles are just a base, so bok choy would be great, daikon radish, broccoli, carrots, onions, you name it. It would all work. Nuck, thanks for the 44 consecutive months there. Okay, the sauce that I used was this, this right here, which is, once again, 3 tablespoons fish sauce, 3 tablespoons sugar, 2 tablespoons tamarind paste, 1 tablespoon sambal olek. And then we fortified it by cooking the shrimp shells, deglazing the pan with water, and adding that quick stock to the sauce. Yes, bean sprouts also go in there. In fact, I should have added bean sprouts, but I didn't. Yeah, if you wanted to make this vegetarian, you obviously would not use shrimp, but you would use water to glaze the pan. You're going to lose out on that flavor, of course, but you can fortify it other ways by adding flavorful veggies or pickled vegetables or whatever you want to. But you can use tamari, soy, tahini are all substitutes that would be friendly for that. Do you have recommendations for people that taste cilantro as soapy? You pretty much just have to get out of the cilantro market in that situation because that's just your taste buds. That's your genetics telling you don't like cilantro. There's plenty of other great herb substitutes out there. One of my favorite combinations is cilantro basil mint. Goes very well with most noodle dishes, including this one. It'd go great. What wine can you pair with pad thai? I don't drink wine. Sorry. I think wine tastes gross. I've had plenty of nice wines with nice meals, and it never does anything for me. Yes, this recipe will be online. It'll be posted below the YouTube video. We upload all episodes to YouTube afterwards. You exclaim CWF in the chat. It'll bring up the full list of Cooking with Frag episodes. Sambal olek. Sambalolek has a picture of a rooster on the bottle. Incredibly spicy chili paste. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Cooking with Frag. Thank you all for making it possible through your support in the Patreon. I sincerely look forward to whatever I have to cook next month. It's been a great show. I'll catch you guys on Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific. Until then, keep it dapper and be good to each other. That's all I got for tonight. Frag out.